All right, Tanmai and Sinan, I'm happy to have you on the podcast talking
Mhm,
about Collation AI, talking about
mhm,
AI, talking about the modern tech stack for family
mhm,
offices.
mhm,
Um, and, one of the things that kind of fascinates me is about owning your own data
mhm,
and the importance of that, and more importantly, the mechanics of it.
mhm, mhm,
Would you guys mind giving a brief introduction of yourself?
mhm.
First of all, thanks for the invitation. Very happy to be here. Sinan here, CRO at Collation AI, a wealth tech out of New York. This is our second venture with my colleague Tanmai. We've spent more time, I mean, I've spent more time with him than my family. That's a fact. As a matter of fact, I used to
Mm,
use his voice
mm.
for calming my kids down when they were babies. You know, this white noise kind of thing. So that was basically Tanmai for my kids. So,
I,
yeah, yeah.
uh, I don't know if that's a compliment, but thank you.
It is.
So I'm actually a banker pretending to be a fintech guy. So I spent bulk of my career, 20 years, on various trading floors, buy, sell, cross-border arbitrage, that kind of stuff. And then about 12 years ago, got bored of banking, started a company called Canopy out of Singapore, which was a competitor to Adapar. But I wanted to then come back to the US and attack the biggest wealth market there is. So the management team of Canopy actually quit and we started Collation just over 2.5 years ago.
What is Collation AI's ideal client profile?
We have two client profiles. So we work a lot with family offices and we work a lot with RIAs. Our tech stack and our setup is exactly the same, but these two client segment use it very differently. So when we're talking about family offices, we are dealing with the typical family office setup. So there is a family office, there are various family members. Almost invariably, there is partnership accounting, there is partial ownership changes the time. There are multiple generations in the family. Different people are looking for different information. The IC wants something else. The family office people want something else. And individual family members want something else from the information that they're looking at. So the ability to first gather all this disparate data into one place and then be able to kind of configure different users to see the information that they need to see. So that is kind of the product. That's our profile.
Collation AI unique.
So our current business model is based on the best of breed approach, where we set up a centralized data warehouse or data lake, sounds kind of fancier, for customers, and we let the customers host their data by themselves. This is quite unique by itself because customers can not only access their data, but they own their data from day one. And into that data warehouse, we're bringing data from, into that data warehouse, we bring in their entire data set from, for example, from third-party software vendors, banks, brokers, market data, private asset valuations, and things like this. And then probably something Tanmai is gonna deeper is that we make sure that the data sitting in the warehouse is accurate. Since next phase is to help the customer to make sense of their data and derive actionable insights on it. And we don't have high quality data to report on. Basically, you're getting garbage data out. Finally, and this is what we really would like to talk about today, is to set up a regulatory friendly AI-based reporting platform. The fancy name is vibe coding, like vibing, where the client can use AI for building custom applications, dashboards, client portals, and things like this. The AI basically is writing the code for you so that you can build these custom pieces, and this essentially becomes client's IP as well. So
We want to talk to, whenever I get a chance to talk to a founder, especially a serial entrepreneur,
Mhm,
such as yourself with Canopy and now
mhm.
Collation AI. Talk to me a little bit about your founder's journey. What was the impetus for creating Collation AI?
So collation was born from three or four things. One is we wanted to attack the biggest wealth market. Second was technology map had changed significantly, and we could now do things that we could not do in Canopy, and we could only dream about in Canopy. And then there was this whole domain knowledge and learning from what you had done and what worked and what didn't work. So all these three things kind of came together into collation.
Yeah, that kind of a Gen 2, right? If I had a
Mhm.
complete
Yes.
whiteboard to
Mhm.
do it all over again, how
Mhm.
would I
Mhm.
do it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's certainly interesting. So, what are some of the common problems that people are coming to you guys with? And also, can you tell me if like the problems and the expectations of the buyer have shifted over time?
Uh,
So the problems vary depending on the client profile. So for an example, if the client is a family office, the typical problems we see are, hey, I need better investment reporting. I do have a general ledger system in place, but I'm doing the performance reporting on Excel spreadsheets. I looked at the market for an all-in-one performance reporting software, but A, they're too expensive. B, I don't want to run two copies of my data, two separate applications, and all that. Another common problem we see across the family offices is that the data sitting in different software applications and, bunch of folks is trying to tie up the data. So, this tends to be a rather expensive fix. And the third and the most recent topic that we see across family offices is that, hey, everyone is talking about AI. We are not. Are we missing out on this, right? So that's what we definitely see across the family offices. Whereas with the wealth managers, like RIAs and EAMs, as we call them in Europe, Asia, the common problems tend to be more on the operations side of things. So, for an example, how can I be more efficient with my current tech stack, with my staff that I have in place? Where can I cut costs? How can I improve my performance? How can I be more lean, faster, smarter? Into this, you can throw in KPIs like sales velocity, advisor productivity, client retention, and things like this, right? Or, oftentimes the wealth managers tell us that, hey, I have, a lot of data sitting in disparate in disparate silos. I wish I could have all that data sitting in somewhere centrally so that I can get most out of it. And we live in the AI time, so how come I can't use AI to get most out of the data that I have? And then, of course, you have the other side of the spectrum, which is, hey, we have a data lake in place. All our data lives in there, but the quality of the data is so bad that when we bolt a large language model on top, we get garbage data out,
Yeah.
right? So, and I have my data, it is clean, but reporting is too expensive, right? Because the system I'm using is antiquated and it's clunky. And I'm personally used to having custom things like custom movies, custom music playlists. So why can't I have my custom reports? Isn't that the whole promise of AI, right? So vibe code anything I want. Like for an example, I see a report somewhere and or a calculation I think is pretty cool. So I just want to use a plain English chatbot to describe what the AI should do, and it should go and just replicate that report for me for a few pennies in a matter of seconds, right? So those are the things that we see across the wealth managers and family offices, the common things we see.
Yeah, I think there's still that age-old problem that two things that kind of stand out that have been kind of universal over time is one is that family offices, wealth managers have a lot of data that's siloed and it's difficult for them to pull it together in a comprehensive way. And it has gotten better over time. I mean, there's pillars now versus it used to be back in the day that you had a on the investment side, you had an alternative investment reporting system and a marketable one, and then you had to manually pull that together. And at least those systems seem to handle both the wide range of asset classes, but still they don't seem to talk to their general ledger. And then the age old problem that will never go away is garbage in, garbage out. And AI is not maybe AI can help clean up your garbage, but if you're putting garbage in, AI is going to give you a lot of garbage on the way
100%.
out, right?
100%.
Maybe if I can just add to that, right? So if you zoom out a little bit and you think about it philosophically, the client requirements have not changed as such, right? The family office wants to know basically three things, right? What am I worth? How am I doing? And do I need to change anything? Right? These are the three questions you always wanted to know. Last 100 years, nothing has changed. But the problem that the family office right now has is I have a expensive tech stack. So I have a journal ledger, I might have a portfolio system, I might have other systems. And to run this expensive tech stack, I need specialists who are also expensive people. So I have two or three tech stacks. I have this expensive software running, and I'm spending easily 500,000, 750K purely on the software and people who run the software, and I'm still not getting the report I want, right? So philosophically, that's the problem. And what has changed now is you get a database, get all your data into one place, have AI solve a bulk of your reporting requirements. So you can now achieve that requirement at a fraction of the cost, at a fraction of the time. And more importantly, the requirements evolve with time, right? So everybody who's doing the analysis, their requirements keep changing. And the AI, because it's just text driven, saying, can you now make me this dashboard? Can you make me this workflow? Blah, 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 evolves with you and evolves rapidly. And you're not dependent on a big software vendor, making their next release, which happens to also cover your requirement. So that is the big cataclysmic change that we see.
What talk to me about vibe coding?
Mhm.
What is it? Obviously, and it could, well, also you've mentioned that it's regulatory friendly. What does
Mhm.
that mean? And why should family offices care about vibe coding?
So vibe coding is simply an AI interface where you can tell the AI model, I want a dashboard which does XYZ 1 to 3. And the AI makes that dashboard for you on top of your data. So it's literally replacing the person who was making your Excel spreadsheets with a much more sophisticated person who does a better job, more sophisticated dashboards, deeper analysis, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm.
So it's not a new requirement really. It's just that there is a new tool in the market which meets your requirement way faster and at a fraction of the cost of anything else. That's basically what it is. So if I was to summarize this in a single sentence, you use ChatGPT where you're giving it text inputs and it's giving you text output back. Then you started using things like Midjourney where you give it a text input. Please draw me a picture of a cat drinking a banana milkshake, and it'll give you the image. And now the next step is the logical next step is you say, please give me a dashboard which shows me where is my exposure geographically in my private equity portfolio. That's a question. And the AI will go in and it'll draw the dashboard, bring it to you, and you can say, I want this change, I want that change, whatever. So vibe coding is simply a plain English conversation you're having with an AI agent who is very smart and is able to make the dashboard that you want and is also able to take your feedback and keep improving it as time goes on.
And what about the regulatory requirement or
Yeah,
being
so
regulatory friendly?
that's a very, very key and interesting question. When we are dealing with any data, any family, any wealth manager's data, there's invariably PII involved, right? We have the names of entities, we have your positions, we have sometimes even social security numbers, but definitely addresses, names of individuals. So there's a lot of very sensitive data that should not get leaked. And because vibe coding platforms have an AI engine at the back of it, you really don't want to expose your real data to that AI engine.
Sure.
So effectively, the way we do it is we create a sandbox which has the same data structure but completely dummy data. The vibe coding dashboards are made actually on the sandbox. Then the code that is generated is vetted and then brought over to the secure infrastructure to run only as a code. So we actually never let AI directly touch clients' PII purely as a matter of abundant caution. And that's why it's regulatorily compliant. When we say regulatory compliant, what we are trying to say is you know exactly where your data is at all points in time, and nothing, no PII touches an AI model unless you, of course, explicitly wanted to.
What about owning your own data? I mean,
Mhm,
I think some of that goes with the best of breed
mhm.
Yeah.
type of discussion, but why is owning your own data important and how do the mechanics of that
I
work?
mean, essentially, you don't want to have that single vendor lock-in scenario, and you want to have a future-proof tech stack or a platform. Um, if you think about the transition as Tanmai was describing, right? So moving away from Excel spreadsheets to online software applications, and now being able to actually build these by yourself by the help of AI. Essentially, you want to have a future-proof tech stack where you can actually swap any solution that you want. So, for an example, You don't like the way how your CRM vendor is treating you, or you don't like the way how much you're paying for a portfolio system, or you don't like the way how the general ledger system is clunky. So if you want to be in a position where you're able to negotiate better terms or sunset that system and replace with another one, you need to have a platform that supports that, right? And especially with the AI. I mean, we can give from our own experience. We'd started the vibe coding journey with the most hyped vendor out there, which was called Lovable back then. I think it took it 2 weeks, Tanmai, that we
Hmm.
then started exploring Bolt.new. That was a new tiny shiny toy in the market. And then we tried out Cloud Code. These things are so volatile. And the advantage of having an open platform, future-proof platform, is that you can replace these things like that. And that's exactly what a family office should aim for. Because the way how things are moving, one thing is never going to change. The fact that you need to have all your data in one place and you need to make sure that the data is intact and incorrect. Then, however you want to visualize that data or get most out of it, you can build whatever LLM vibe coding tool you want. The thing is that you should not be locked into a single vendor. That is the message, basically. And that's why we think it's quite crucial.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think regardless of whether you're going with the all-in-one approach or the best of breed, um, vendor risk is you have even more vendor risk, obviously, with an all-in-one approach. Um, One of the benefits of a best of breed approach is that it kind of minimizes your vendor risk to a certain extent, but the ability to kind of swap out the nodes on your stack there
Yeah,
are important because vendors change, like their ownership structure changes, their situation changes, your situation as a firm may change, and that vendor may no longer be suitable.
true.
And to be locked in with all that historical data makes that a
Yeah.
harder proposition, right?
And you
So
just want to have this future-proof infrastructure. And that's essentially what we're providing you, that future-proof infrastructure.
talk to me a little bit about the relationship between AI and data. Obviously, I think we've touched on this a little bit about why
Hmm.
having clean data is so important.
It's a case of garbage in, garbage out, right? So uh, AI is a very smart person, but unless you give it the right data, unless you give it the wrong data, unless you give it the right data, unless you give it the complete data, you will run the risk of results being wrong. So in fact, it actually goes a little bit beyond just correct and complete data. So you have to give it context, you have to give it perspective, you have to give it solid examples, then you have to give it the data. You have to build in guardrails around, the AI doing something really random and stupid. So there is a whole setup that goes into it, not just clean and complete data. But if you don't have clean and complete data, you're completely wasting your time. So it's as simple as that.
Modernizing the family office. Obviously, AI is a key component of that.
Mhm.
Will AI force family offices to modernize? I mean, there's a number of factors at influence here. Obviously, there's
Mm.
a
Yeah.
huge wealth transfer that's going on.
Sure.
So you have a next gen
Mm.
that's more technology, kind of
Mm.
cloud native. At the very least, what are the what do you see happening with family offices? Is the productivity and the enhancements so great with AI that it's going to force them to modernize? Or are you still going to see, this
See,
kind of bell
Yeah.
curve where family
i-
offices still
yeah,
are
if I
on
can
the
answer that question,
outliers?
which is that just because you're rich doesn't mean you don't care about money. Uh, and if you go into a family office and say, Mr. Family Office, your current cost of tech plus people running your tech is 750K. And if you now change to our setup, you will be inside 100K. And you get flexible reporting and, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter how much of a billionaire you are, right? If we walked into your office and said, AI can save you 500,000, 600K per annum, it's simple economics. Economics will blow it away. And of course, there's flexibility and you can have a plain English conversation with it, et cetera, et cetera. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know,
just
Sinan, do you agree
yeah,
with
I'm
that?
just yeah, I'm just,
Mm,
I 100%
mm,
agree. I'm just gonna
mm,
add to that.
mm,
What we also see, Mark, is that the barrier to entry for forming a family office will eventually go down. Actually, it has started, right? So historically, you needed around 100 to 50 mil, give or take, in assets to justify the cost of running a traditional family office. With the advancement of AI, we see the reduction in headcount, as Tanmai was saying, improvements in automation. So we predict, and we're seeing this already in the market, that a lean family office would become viable at around 25, $50 million assets under management. There's also, by the way, today a concept called virtual family offices. You can go and Google or search on LLM. And these things start around $5 to $10 million AUM. So our prediction is that the line between a family office and an advanced AI-supported advisory practice will blur over time. And this is it. So 100% there's a correlation there.
I think single family offices are always trying to do more with less. They run lean.
Yep.
And this just helps them run leaner or
Yep.
do more with less, right? And then the
100%.
multifamily offices are looking to scale, right? They're adding more clients all the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Scalability is important.
Mhm.
And this helps. Technology is
True.
revolutionizing the way in which firms could
True.
do that, and
But
certainly.
there is so unless you are if you are a multifamily office and you're not set up to offer customization at scale, again you won't have you'll have unhappy clients. So this is one problem that AI solves radically fast, which is that you will be able to set up custom dashboards for each client, and the cost of making a new custom dashboard is $10, $15, and that's where the interesting things start happening.
Yeah, there's personalization at scale, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
that's
Mhm.
Absolutely.
really why you go to a family office or
Mhm.
why you create a family office is ultimate in customization based on your family's needs. And
Yep.
Yep.
certainly the expectation doesn't change. If you're an ultra high net worth family and you're going to a multifamily office, you're going to expect a level of personalization.
Mhm.
Um, let's talk about AI and where we are in the AI evolution. Obviously, I think vibe coding is this key kind of component of it.
Mhm.
Large language models, the
Mhm.
ability to
Mhm.
have a conversation with
Mhm.
your data. Agentic AI
Mhm.
is now on the forefront. Where are we in the AI evolution, and what's a preview of what firms should be starting to think about and see in the very
So
near future?
we are really just starting, in my opinion, and we are at a cataclysmic increase in productivity that comes from AI. So it has a bunch of implications. First, we just discussed about the cost of running the setup goes down drastically. The flexibility goes up, and we are still right now talking about doing reporting. Right, we're not talking about decision making and insights and analytics and actually even executing based on that. So all that is going to come with time. But it's fairly clear to us that this is going to be cataclysmic.
Um, just to add to Tamai's point, I don't think we're not far off from having digital chief of staffs in family offices, like especially AI-enabled family offices. So
An agentic
we
chief of staff is that.
Exactly. So within every family office, large or small, doesn't matter, we'll use an agent for, monitoring portfolios, banking activity, private investments in real time, and things like this. So the agent will essentially behave like a junior analyst, plus an executive assistant, plus an ops associate combined. And this, single AI agent will probably reduce around 1 to 3 full-time roles. That's typically what we predict. And everything that has already started, but I think it will become more mainstream, is real-time consolidated reporting, replacing the quarterly, if not annual reporting. So, the Gen 3, Gen 4 says, hey, I want to see where I'm standing right now. And just, go to your app, which has been built by AI again, as Tamai was saying, just by plain English describing what needs to be done. You got that report done in a few minutes, and then you deliver it to the Gen 2, and the Gen 2 just clicks on a button and sees in real time the reporting. So I think these are the things that is coming our way. But the agentic AI piece is very, very exciting, of course, because that again reduces the barrier to have your own family office.
we've obviously talked a lot about the future of family offices already, the democratization of it, the
Mhm.
barriers lowering, how technology will change the landscape. I'd like to hear from both of you a prediction. What does the future hold for the family office industry?
There is a very famous quote from Yogi Berra about how future is hard to predict. But if you see things and the trends that are already obvious, right? So one is about productivity, which is essentially means smaller number of people doing more things and more things rapidly. Uh,
Mhm.
what what I expect or suspect will happen is a cooperation or coordination between family office units. It already happens. They already share feedback and they talk to each other a lot and they co-invest and they are talking to each other. But that will start taking its own life. Let me give you an example, right? There are a few thousand family offices in the U.S., just in the U.S. And let's say all of them are buying private equity, which is investing in, I don't know, real estate development. Let's say, for example, AI will be able to essentially allow them to coordinate with each other in bulk and essentially squeeze the margins of the providers. So I would expect a lot of the friction out of the market to go away because coordinating with each other and making kind of macro investment decisions will become easier. So let me give you another variation of the same requirement. There are a few thousand family offices in the US, and let's say using AI, they are in sync and they have a very good sense of what each other is doing. They become a force to reckon with because they suddenly you know where the next move from $1 trillion size investor or investor group is going and is coming, and so these things will become very important. So I see a shift of power and a shift of being able to influence the market, move away from the providers and towards the investors, towards the family offices.
Yeah, and just
Um,
just just to add to Tanmai's point, we really see and predict a massive expansion of the family office universe. More liquidity events happening for founders, tech, AI, crypto, biotech, you name it, and falling operational costs due to automation, and lowering the barrier, the entry point for establishing a family office. All this will just funneling the massive expansion in the family office space is what we're seeing, which is a great thing for us, for vendors like us.
It is great to be, it's the beginning of the golden age for family offices.
Precisely.
Certainly could be a proliferation of them. I think that saying that the futures here is just not evenly distributed. I think it applies pretty well that
mhm.
there are lots of cutting edge capabilities that are coming the way to the family offices, and they're here today.
Yeah.
AI is very much
Absolutely.
operational. It's not a future state thing to be thinking about. It's something to be acting on today. I think vibe
Hmm.
coding is another good example of that. I like to end the podcast on a personal note.
Hmm.
Tanmay, you came from Singapore. You're now in New York City.
Hmm.
Give me a little comparison, compare and
Oh,
contrast the two cities, and
the
how's the
it's a that's a very interesting question. Um, the two cities could not be more different, and the two cities could not be the more similar. Both statements are actually true. So Singapore is a very sort of nice, in a sense, very clean. It's squeaky clean. It's set like that, and the infrastructure works, and it's designed like that. And New York is completely controlled, but sometimes out of control chaos, right? So they're very different in that sense. But if and Singaporeans definitely tend to be more polite than New Yorkers. New Yorkers like not to be polite, especially when they don't want to. But if you look at it slightly differently, then both cities are entrepreneurial cities.
Mhm.
And there is this streak of entrepreneurship. I can do it. I can get this done. Let me get this done. Let me see this. Let me fix this. And that's true in both places. So it's a very interesting question. They're very similar and very different at the same time.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You can make it here, you can make it anywhere kind of attitude, right? New York has a certain
Yeah.
level of
Yeah.
chaos to it that I love. I always say I love going to New York. I
Mhm.
also love leaving New York too. So um, it can be a bit much,
Mhm.
but it is great, and I'm looking forward to going to Singapore one of these days. Sinan, you live in Zurich. What is your favorite spot that people might not know about Zurich in Switzerland?
I'm a big time cyclist, so I love these urban paths and the scenic climbs it has to offer, like this path from a local place called Glatt. So from Glatt to Bülach, the gravel pass, and then there's another pass called the Albis Pass Loop. So there are these fantastic little villages where you have to climb up and then have this hill descent, and it's just magnificent. But apart from Zurich, of course, one place that many people don't know, except for the Interlakens and Luzerns and things like this, there's a small spot called Kaumersee, which is a small lake. I think it translates to Lake Siesta, like this afternoon nap that is taken on a hot day. Although I've never seen a hot day in Switzerland. But that's also a favorite family spot for us. So try it out, Kaumersee.
When you say climbing these passes, like what kind of elevation are you gaining on these rides?
So at max in Zurich, I would go 600, 800 meters. So we have
Okay.
meters, right? But one day I want to do the big mountains, right? The 2000, the 3000s, but I'm not at that level yet. Working
Yeah.
on it though.
Like, some of these passes like Von 2 or some of these other ones you see
Oh
on the
yeah,
trail.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah,
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 exactly.
maybe an e-bike might be there. Like,
Yeah, that's cheating, right?
good stuff. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate your time. This has been a fascinating conversation.
Oh,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
being on the Wealth Tech podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Mark.
having us.
Cheers.
Thanks. Good stuff. Take
Bye.
care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.
Bye.